Perfect. So I want to say thank you all for being here on this Zoom call on this bit chilly and snowy finally Monday evening. Um, just so happens that the state party is also doing a training at the exact same day and time as we are. So I will hopefully get a copy of that and I will save it um as well, so that way, we can see what they're saying, we can see what we're saying. I am going to see if I can throw in the chat real quick. Nope, that won't let me do it. They sent a pretty nice graphic that I can make sure to send out to everyone that's on the call right now, and it'll also be posted in our Slack group. But with that, I think with our legislative gains this session, it's really exciting. I'm really, I don't know if hopeful is the right word, but I am interested in seeing how the session shakes out. Hopefully, there's more bipartisanship that's required to happen. But then I do look at some bill titles and I go, whew, alrighty then. So, with that being said, what we are here to do today is to learn about how to take legislative action. And so, we all worked to get these legislatures elected, and so now they're going to go up to Helena. They're in Helena right now, and they are working on passing legislation that will fit what we elected them to do.
Mm.
And unfortunately, they're going to continue to need our help. So we want to stay involved, engaged citizens. And our very own wonderful Karin Kirk is going to inspire and teach us how to do that today. So without further ado, Karin, please.
Awesome. Thank you, Damien. That's a big lead up. So I'm like firing at like 75%. I work in the ski school and I got COVID because it's a busy locker room. So it was like a matter of time. Anyway, I'm doing fine basically, but not quite as energized as normal. But before I go into the slides, how many of you have already given testimony to various bills or committees or public service commission, things like that? I just want to know, like, so we're like have these kind of, okay, cool. Thank you. I have slides as always. Grab them. And we can go to slideshow mode. If someone can let me know when you see this.
I
No,
can see them, Karen.
Okay, good. Um, cool. And also let me know if just interrupt me if I start to drop in and out because I'm isolating from my husband. I'm not in our normal office and I'm far from our Wi-Fi. But hopefully that doesn't matter. Okay. This is mostly about how to aim your comments. At the end, I have some slides, and I think maybe the same graphic Damien was just talking about, like the structure of it. But this is like how to approach it from maybe a level above, like the nuts and bolts. But the gist of it is like we know there's a full-on culture war, and we also know this unfortunate phrase, the cruelty is the point. And so this is to help us um, not be, well, like I said, it's dismissed, forgotten, or, or scoffed at. This is to help our message resonate with our audience. We always want to do that. In this case, our audience is people who are maybe not a whole lot like us. Um, okay, so a little bit on the background. So how do you do this? Well, first step is you commit to doing it. This is one of many things that gets way easier each time you do it. So I encourage you to sign up and give it a shot. If I wanted to get into a couple more details, I just need to move my. Start with a topic that's nearest and dearest to you, and/or you're most comfortable with. That's going to be probably the same thing. Follow the topic through legislative alerts. That could be from Gallatin Dems. That can be from your advocacy group. That could be from whoever you trust, or whether they're legislators or advocates or professionals, whatever. Follow that topic. when you see the opportunity coming up, a committee hearing, a bill hearing, public service commission, you usually need to sign up the day before. Go ahead and commit. You know what? If you sign up and then you don't want to do it, that's fine too. But if you don't sign up, you will definitely not be able to do it. And I'm talking here about Zoom because I think that's going to be the most like easy way to navigate. So just sign up. You could back out if you want to. Once you've signed up, you're like, okay, I did it. Then you want to prepare your remarks, usually just a couple minutes worth. The good thing about doing this on Zoom is they won't be able to see you. You'll just have a little thing with your name. And so you can read right from whatever script you write. Make sure it's not on the device you're presenting on. That's going to help. So print it out if you're using your phone, or read from your phone if you're using your laptop or whatever. But yeah, write it out. When it comes time, get pumped. Do whatever little ritual you need to do to like get yourself riled up. You will be nervous, I guarantee. So like be ready for your like go mode, whatever that is for you. In some cases, you kind of get in line to speak. In some cases, you're just in line. So that's going to depend on the hearing. And then your time will come up. So like on the Zoom ones, once you're like in line, you don't really know when you're going to be next. And so you kind of sit there in suspense, and then you'll get a little thing that says you're requesting to unmute, and then you unmute and go for it. So it's a little bit weird because when you're physically in the room, you're in a line and it's an actual line and you know when you're next. But so it's a little bit of a surprise on Zoom. Once you do it, then like take full credit. You did it. Make sure you have, you revel in that all that you did, and share it so that other people can benefit, can ride your coattails and enjoy how empowering that was. And then keep doing it. Okay, so that's the recipe. But this is what I really want to do, is talk about what's the nuts and bolts of how to do this. This is a few years ago. This is the Public Service Commission. This, I think, was the first time I did like a fairly large scale public testimony. I'm using this person as a stand-in for me, but this is not me. This is someone else who I took a picture of. But first of all, like, look at the Public Service Commission of that era. It's not a whole lot better now. And like, consider that that's your audience. These people are nothing like me. I'm nothing like them, but they are my audience. So I need to say whatever I'm going to say in a way that works for them. That's the challenge. Why should they care about you? They really don't. It's too bad that we don't expect more out of our elected officials, but we shouldn't. They're going to be much more effective if this is your operating principle, that they do not care about you. However, we care about them and we care about what we want to do. So we're going to be strategic. So when I go and hear a public testimony, I hear a lot of people get up and they lay it all out of what they love. So I could be like, you know what? This hearing was about coal strip, of course. So I'm like, I'm a skier and winter's really important to me. Or I could be like, I went to Greenland to like study the glaciers and the glaciers are disappearing. Or I could be like, I'm a gardener and I love the natural environment and the birds I see in my garden. I could say all of those things. You could fill in what's important to you. And in the end, those are going to have not that much sway. Because why would they care about me? They don't. Uh-oh. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. So in fact, I mean, some of these guys have really weird beliefs. Randy Pinocchi really thinks that more CO2 comes from like soft drinks than it does from fossil fuels. So they're really on a different planet than we are. So we need to align ourselves closer to where they are. Okay, so how do you do that? So you flip it around. So you try to think, well, what is it that they care about? They're not going to care about me, I know that, but I can try to take some pretty good guesses about what they care about. And these are public officials. It's not hard to know what they care about. And so for the Public Service Commission, like this was a really contentious hearing. So they're wanting to avoid conflict. They have their constituents who love them and they want to be, square with them. Maybe they just want to do what they wanted to do in the first place, in which case it feels like pointless, but it's not pointless. Maybe they want to ignore climate change. Maybe they want to avoid people they disagree with. Maybe they only care about money. Maybe they just want to preserve the people who their lobbyists or friends. Maybe they just want to find the easiest way out of this. And so this kind of sets us up for going in as, maybe someone that can help them with some of these things that's important to them. Maybe we can be a bit of a problem solver or bridge builder, because we're going to have to work extra hard to sort of dig up that expertise and those solution-oriented comments, because they're not really into doing it, but we can do it, and that might get us more attention than just yelling at them. Okay, so here's an approximation of what I did in this testimony. So basically, this was back when Northwest Energy wanted to buy Colstrip for $1. That failed, but it's just that was one of many attempts at this. But this was a big room and it was full, and everyone was yelling at them. And so I started by saying like, "Hey, this is hard for you. I get it." And so right away, I'm. This is not about me; it's about them, and I'm showing empathy with them, and I'm kind of putting myself in their shoes, which is a nice, soft way to start. Furthermore, I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make this really hard decision that's before you. So I'm taking a humble approach, and so softening them up, winning them over, hopefully. Getting into the actual argument, I'm not going to talk about my life as a skier, my interest in glaciers, my love of gardening. I'm only going to talk about what's important to them, which is going to be economics. And unfortunately, the economics of coal is unworkable. So all of my arguments came from that point of view. That's their perspective. They're pretty motivated by money and also ideology, but a big part of their ideology is money. And so, yeah, we're talking about the economics of coal, and sorry, it's not adding up. And then we can sympathize. That's too bad. Like we all share this. Like it would be great, if this were free or cheap or whatever. And like side note, it wouldn't be great. It would be terrible. I'm glad coal's expensive, but that's not, that's not for this venue. So I can sort of sympathize. Like too bad, the economics don't work. Bummer. Okay, that's good. We're getting to be on the same page. And also, we all want the same thing. We all want reliable energy, good jobs, and clean air. So, again, drawing that common ground. So, I'm a friendly person. All of this is just stage setting so that they will listen to me, so that they're not going to immediately dismiss me as some like woke liberal or whatever, trying to speak their language. So now we're getting into like solutions. I see the problem. I see what we all want. Like, how can we get there? And this is where we can really help. Like that's as advocates, that's what we're here to do, not complain, but bring forward solutions that help meet these goals that we all share. So I'm going to try to help you get out of this difficult situation. Montanans are proven innovators and problem solvers. This is not original to me. This is from a group that actually does a lot of research on message testing, messages on climate change. I use this all the time, or versions of this, because I'm rallying us to this, to greatness. We can do this. We have amazing talent. We're just an incredible state. You, Public Service Commission, are just like part of this incredible energy of innovators and problem solvers. So I'm rallying some positivity here. Montana has massive potential as an energy producer. So I'm bringing positive energy here. The fact that I'm talking not about coal is beside the point. But we do have massive energy as an energy producer. That's wind energy, not coal. But that's not exactly the point. But we do have a world-class wind resource, and even better, we have a market that really wants it, and that's pretty nearby, and that's the entire West Coast. So now I'm speaking their language. I'm not necessarily saying we should go with wind because it's cleaner than coal. I'm saying we should go with wind because we have a ton of it, and it's valuable. So I'm putting this not in my own values, but in their values, even though it's the same thing, the same topic, if that makes sense. Also here, I'm offering a solution. I'm not just complaining, hey, don't do this, shut it down, blow up Colstrip. Like, no, I'm saying like, here, why don't we try this? So at this point, they actually started making eye contact. And so again, relating to them, I know it seems like coal's our only option, but it's really good news that we have other options. We don't need to buy Colstrip for $1. We've got a pretty diverse set of natural resources here. At this point, I don't think so I'm not disagreeing here. I'm sharing good news, even though I actually am disagreeing, but it's framed as good news. And Montana can become a leader in the modern energy economy. This is where I started talking about Gordon Butte, which is probably never going to happen. But at the time, that was an approved of plan to use pumped hydro storage, basically to use windmills, wind turbines to pump water uphill. And then when energy was needed, the flip of a switch, you can drain that water out, spin a turbine on the way down. And it was a way to store very dispatchable, very quick energy. So that would be like a huge innovation. That would have put Montana really on the map for a bold innovator in modern energy. And this time they started actually writing stuff down. They were like, pumped hydro, what is that? So I'm bringing solutions and setting up Montana to be a leader and making them look good because they're going to have this great idea to put Montana in a leadership and innovative position. That, by the way, is going to also make us money. I'm not sure what's up with that text. Yeah, so paint a positive path forward that includes all of us. We can all come along in this with these solutions. Okay, so that is where I ended up with that testimony. I was really pleased that they paid attention, that they took notes, and a bunch of people came up afterward and they're like, "Who are you? This is," that was like really unusual. And it's because I didn't talk about my own values. I didn't talk about what's important to me. I kind of translated those issues in a way that actually resonates more with them. Ultimately, this failed, and there was a lot this idea of buying culture for $1. There was a lot of public pushback, and I was happy that it failed. In a nutshell, so this is about empathy and framing and their values, putting as many people as possible on the same side. These people don't actually thrive on being, pelleted with insults and conflict. All of us, most of us really do want the same things. And whatever extent you can, build solutions, be positive, offer an appealing and well-informed avenue for action. And to do this last one, it's going to rely on using our advocacy organizations to help get talking points and solutions, things like that. I wouldn't expect that we can show up and just rattle that off for issues, except for the ones that we really love and already are pretty up to speed on. Okay, so here it is. It failed. I like it. Increasingly bitter. Well, I wasn't bitter anyway. Regulatory and public opinion against the deal in both states. So that was great. That was yay. It had a good effect. When it comes to making the actual content, like what are you going to say? So being relatable, like appealing, not as this like person outside of their sphere of like who they would like, but as like a friendly Montanan, but share whatever expertise you have, show why it matters to Montana, and again, build the solutions and be positive. And again, I know this is repeated on purpose from the last slide. It's an appealing and well-informed avenue for action. So again, with climate change and energy, those are my issues. I really only talk, if I'm going to talk about climate change, which I almost never do, I find the data to get the local impact, the localist, most specific impact I can. And then I try to put it in terms that we're going to understand. So we could talk about these like terrible curves that we need to follow to like take carbon out of our energy supply. But you can liken them to things that we're maybe more familiar with, like a green fee run in the beginning, and the longer we wait, the steeper it gets. I love that. I don't know when I made this slide, probably 2016, but here we are in 2025 facing the expert run. But anyway, the point is you want to put these in terms, if you're going to bring some like technical expertise, like bring it down to like a relatable level, a memorable level. People love public opinion data. If you have it for your topic, bring it. I think that's really useful to say, X% of Montanans think this. And people are often surprised. Everybody thinks that people agree with them, right? And so find the data about what people think, and if it's from your community, your profession, your area, the state, whatever. If you have that, it's great to share. If you're curious, by the way, about energy and climate, these Yale climate opinion maps have tons of stuff. You pull down these menus and you can get all kinds of great things that are incredibly useful. And solutions are popular. Like fighting about stuff, generally not so popular, but solutions are like really great to talk about. So the quicker you can pivot to that, the better. And a lot of these, we get immediate benefits. Like if we're talking about energy and pollution, a lot of these are immediately going to pay off and bring us closer to these common goals of like everybody kind of wants the same thing here. So when you can pivot to that, do it. Lean on your advocacy groups. So the calendar, it's January 6th, right? Your thoughts, the media, whether it's social media or the radio or TV, is full of like dread about a lot of things. You can't follow everything. You have to have some joy. You have to tune out. You have to say that's enough. You have to look at cat pictures or whatever it takes. So for me, I rely on these. For me, it's environmental and energy. So it's Montana Environmental Information Center and Montana Renewable Energy Association. I just sign up for their alerts. And then I keep one eye on them until it's really go time. And then I'm like, oh shit, it's time to go. And then I dive in. But until then, I'm just going to chill and try to preserve some mental health. So find the lanes that are important to you, get on their mailing list, and then kind of wait. You can't follow them all, you will go nuts. But what helps is that these groups know the most important actions. They will send the call to actions when needed. They know the players, they know the talking points. I often will text one or both of these groups before I give testimony and say, what's up? What are the most important things? And so they'll help you build a message. And then you don't have to do so much original research. You can kind of flow along. And then the lawmakers are going to hear the same theme again and again. So I can't stress this enough, is let these groups, that's their job to follow these issues for you, and they'll call you when needed, or call, send the call to action when needed. This was the graphic that came in the email from the Blue Bench, but I think this was what Damien is talking about. This is kind of just a crappy screenshot of it, but Damien will post this. This goes through the nuts and bolts of like really how to do it, how, where to find the buttons and all of that stuff. I broke it up into 2 screenshots here, so you could see it. Yeah, and so here's some other tips, like more logistical things, like you got to spell your name and say who you're testifying for, and usually that's just going to be you as a resident. You're going to have some time limit usually. And yeah, if you've written it down, then submit it in writing as well. It takes almost no extra effort. And then some of the other details. So look for this in Slack or elsewhere on the Gallatin Dem website, because it's another, like a nice little step-by-step. What's important here is you will find your own way through this. We know that times are tough right now, that the stakes are really high. There's an endless need for involvement. It's like dizzying. Trust yourself, and when you have that energy to burn, go for it. When you cannot, don't. Make sure you rest when you need to rest. You will find your way through this. But the best reason to do this is not for Montana. It's not for the environment. It's for you, because it's going to make you feel so much better. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to be a trailblazer that other people can follow. You can brag about it, like I said, on social media or whatever, and help other people follow. So think about this not as a charitable act, but honestly as something that you do for you. And when you are feeling that way about it, then you kind of hit that nice resonant place. And so seek that. If you feel like it's just drawing you down and bumming you out, maybe wait for the next one until you can start to feel like, oh yes, you're tapping into your superpowers and you're loving it. So that's really important in this era of like, oh, so much going on. Okay, that's the end. So I'm going to stop sharing, and we're like nice and quick here. And I want to hear if you have questions or experiences from other people that have testified, good, bad, and otherwise, and how it's gone for you.
Yeah, I
Karen,
think oh, go ahead, Deborah.
oh, okay. Approximately how many words is 2 minutes? Can you kind of give me a ballpark? Like if you're typing out what you're going to say, which is a really, really good idea, so that you get your thoughts all organized. But as you're doing that, if you get to the point, I mean, I always draft my stuff on Word, and so when I know that when I get to a certain word limit, it's like, okay, that's about all I can say in that amount of time. How many?
Yeah, that's a great question. My recollection is like a pretty dense paragraph, like 3 or 4 sentences, is about a minute.
Okay.
But you can actually very quickly Google that, and start with that as your opening like framework. Also, you're going to talk faster than you think.
Okay.
Also, you know what? They can cut you off. Like I don't worry a whole lot about the time limit, because you don't want to like save your like great point till like 5 minutes in, but
Right. Well, it sounds like, because it sounds like that presentation you had a lot of points.
Yeah.
So it's probably more than 2 minutes.
Oh, it was. That one, they had really set aside like a full day for testimony because it was like such a big issue. You know, they had gone to a special room, not their normal PS in their normal PSC offices. Like that was a huge hearing. And so it might have been 5 minutes per person. It was, and so I didn't worry about it at all. 5 minutes is a really long time for stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And
PSC, yeah,
in the committees, they will they'll change the time allotment. So they'll start with 5 minutes, and if 500 people show up, they might shorten it all the way down to a minute, which
yeah,
makes it tough, I think, on citizens who want to participate because it's like, oh, I had this great 3 minute thing prepared or this 2 minute thing prepared. Now I've got to figure out some way to cut it down. Um, which can
yeah,
be, I mean, I've experienced it. It's frustrating. But I also understand that when 500 people show up to speak about things, it's something that everyone across the state of Montana is really passionate about. And so
yeah,
most likely if I'm the first speaker, I try to make sure that everything I wanted to say is in there. But if I'm like the 257th, I usually like cross out the things that are already said as other people are reading. Or if everything I've said is up there, I just
yeah,
get up and I just kind of do my best and reiterate those points. So it's kind of like you got to be ready to be a little malleable.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually put my favorite bullets, like if I'm doing it in person, in bold text or like a bigger font so that if in an emergency, I can just go right to them. Um, yeah. The nice thing is, even when they shorten it, they won't ever cut it off. I've never seen them cut it off. Like in one case, it was a committee hearing and they're like 3 minutes per person. We have till 2:30, and 2:30 came and went, and there were still like 10 people, and they're like, "We're not going to make you go home," which was super cool of them. And actually, I was near the back of the line on that one, and it gave me some time. I actually adjusted because I was going to say some of the things that everyone had already said over and over again. So I was like, I pivoted and I went to the parts of my commentary that hadn't been said yet. So there was some advantage to going late in the game in that case.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Other questions? What do you need to make this feel more doable?
And yeah, for myself, I think that I feel like one of the hardest parts is that there are so many different topics that I care about. And like
Mhm.
Karen was saying, like there are other groups whose entire job is to track these bills and really let us know when important dates and timelines are. Um, us being one of those groups, so we will be
Right,
putting together legislative action alerts, and they will be sent out. If you're interested in receiving those, shoot us an email at info@Gallatin Dems, and we'll make sure to add you to that email list. If you're on our Slack, we will also be posting them there. I think we're probably going to create its own separate Slack, so that way it's not um, filling up the general chat. Um, but some of it is, we might adjust things as we go along. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at what the state party is saying. We're going to ask our legislatures what they're really focused on. We'll look at MEIC and just like 500 other, not really that many, but quite a lot of other organizations who are doing this work to track all of these bills. Because I think the last time that I heard there were 6,000 bill titles requested.
yeah,
Um, that's not, there's not actually going to be 6,000 bills. They just
right,
request a whole bunch of extra titles um,
yeah,
for all sorts of weird things throughout the session. And so, but it's a lot happens, a lot gets done, and as someone who's not sitting up there in Helena every day, it can really feel overwhelming.
Mhm.
And that's okay to feel that way. And if you need help trying to figure something out, please reach out to us. You can also reach out to your legislature if they're able to. They'll let you know. They do also get a lot of emails, so it can be hard to get a response from them, but they really do try their best. Cheryl, you have a
Yes, I have a question. Um, Sort of about like who should give testimony. So let me
Yeah.
give you by way of example. Okay, like so I'm a history professor. If there's laws out there that are going to try to limit history, like obviously I have something to say about that, right? That might be something I testify about.
Yeah.
But like I'm also just really interested in voting access. But I don't
Mhm.
really have any expertise in that. I'm just like an interested citizen.
Mhm.
Is that still like something one should testify on, or should
Oh, yeah.
one like send an email or
No, full stop. That's such a respectful and lovely question. Full stop. Yes, if it's important to you, testify. That's all that matters. You
okay.
don't have to be an expert. In a case where you are, then you honestly you have a responsibility to show up.
Yeah.
In a case where you're not, where it's just near and dear, then absolutely. And then the perspective is more personal, but you still try to frame it in a way that's not going to be blatantly at odds from your audience there. But yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I mean, also flip it. Like I have this great flip it to test it. Like, do you think someone on the other side wouldn't testify if they're not a professor in the topic? Hell no. Bring it. If you want to do it. That's about the only guideline for something that's not in your discipline. If it is in your discipline, then I think we all have a responsibility to be active in the places where that align with our expertise for sure.
Okay, so with the testimony, it's not really thinking about giving like expert testimony. It's thinking
No,
about
no,
like voicing your opinion on the issue.
yeah. When yes, absolutely. When you hear other people's comment and you see where the bar is, which is quite low, you'll feel a lot better. Yeah, yeah, because people come up and say that, like, for an example, like I go to many of the Public Service Commission hearings because that's really the most direct thing aligned with my expertise. Someone like Northwest Energy was asking for the rate increase, the one that they got, the 28%. Seriously, someone said Northwest Energy donated trophies to our baseball league. Therefore, way to go. They should get all the money they ask for. Like, that's really dumb. But that person, showed up and drove down and everything else. So let that be your guide. Will it be better than that? Yes. Then show up.
Patty. Go ahead.
Karen, thanks for giving us that information in the slides. It's very helpful. And I've testified, and because we couldn't get to both webinars at the same time. That graphic you showed is pretty complicated, and there's a
Yeah,
whole new system this year, a bill
right.
tracker, and
Yeah,
I agree with Karen. You want to follow MEIC and MREA and go with there, but you might also have, and personally, I have a professional bill and a group of them that I want to specifically follow. So, that's the case. You want to work on that bill tracker is really very helpful. And I think it would be helpful if we had instruction on using that,
yeah,
because you could just go in and use it and put in whatever, say election as a category, and you'll get a bunch of
yes,
things. But you can actually follow a specific bill. There's actually a bill that's going to be heard on voting, registering to vote online. And
whoa,
yes, that's a bill by Senator McCamey. And it actually has a bill number. I didn't, I am going to put it in my preference list of things I want to follow. And once you have to set up your own little account with a password. Now, it sounds complicated, but once you do it, because you're going to use it, hopefully,
Right.
throughout the term. And
Yeah.
then, you'll get announcements of when this bill is going to be in the committee and when it's going to be at the hearing. So you don't have to keep looking for that one particular bill after you put it in your own little list. So I'm just kind of learning that process now, but I think it would be really helpful to have instruction on it. Just go after it step by step. And I agree with you. And I've testified on bills that I had mild interest in, or like electric cars. I was said, I'm gonna want to buy an electric car, would be my next car, and having this extra cost to register it would not be helpful to me. Anyway, and it's good to practice actually doing it. So that, like just Karin said, the more experience you have, the easier it is. And then you're more likely to, say something that's really meaningful to the committee that's going to make a decision.
Those are such good points. Yeah,
Yes,
the stuff
and
about, oh, go ahead, Damien.
I was just gonna say, yes, Patty. Once we're kind of done with this little questionnaire, I was gonna use the last bit of our time. I was gonna take us on a tour of
Okay.
the Montana Legislature website and show us how to get to all of the pertinent things. Since they have changed it a lot. Honestly, I feel like it looks a little better and makes a little more intuitive sense to me, but that's me as a tech savvy 29-year-old. So if you disagree with me, that is okay.
Yeah. Also, to Patty's point about the bill tracker, they will, since you need to sign up the day before, they are famous for closing that door of sign up time to basically zero, on purpose to shut out public testimony. So, and whatever it takes for you to follow it closely, the ones that are really important to you, then like a tool like a bill tracker may be really helpful when they're trying to pull that fast one and keep the public out. I love that you testified about the EVs in sort of a like more of this is an abstract issue, because anytime you can get up there and say you are putting an unfair economic burden on me, say it, because they're going to hear that from over and over and over and over. So let's remind them that that's super important. So in that case, no expertise needed. Why are you going to penalize me? Don't do that. I thought we were mad about the price of eggs. Why are we raising the price of EVs? And of course, we know why, EV registration, and we know why they are, because they're trying to punch people, but screw that.
All right. If there are no other questions on this section, we'll go ahead and we'll look over the website. Karin, I know you're not feeling the best, so if you want to hop off, you are more than welcome to, but you're also welcome to stay. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, I'll stay. And also, if people have any, I would also, one other thing, if you wanted to put in the chat or whatever, is what issues are of interest to you, so that we collectively can be sure we're helping provide that information. So I've written down bill tracker info, but are there other issues? Like what's the topic that's gonna make you sign up or bring you to Helena when it comes up? Do you have one that's super important to you? Nice. Yeah. Women's rights, trans rights, for sure.
That one's kind of near and dear to my heart.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's so important. And it's been so mishandled. So we've got a couple for education, yay, from Deborah and Kendall. Medicaid expansion, definitely. Affordable housing again, yay. This is great. What's good about this is that you can see that we're going to cover the whole session as we divide it up into our most important topics. Voting rights from Patty, yeah. Public education again, yay. Great. Cool. And so this is actually helpful. Property taxes, energy, yay, Rio. You can see now, also I like this because you can see that we're we're really diverse in that we're like, if you feel like, oh, I just can't, I'm gonna do this energy testimony and I can't do the voting rights one, you can take some comfort that others here are going to cover it. And that's what our Slack board is good for too. Then again, if you're going to go to Helena, make sure you go with a friend. It's really fun. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And go with someone, because then you'll spend the whole drive home being like, yes, we crushed that. And it'll be really, and then as you're driving up, you can practice reading your testimony. It's really fun to go with a couple of people and actually do it. You can take selfies in front of the Capitol. Like, it's really a whole ritual that I can't recommend enough in terms of you're not powerless. We all are actually quite powerful, and making the trip to the state capitol definitely hammers that point home. Yay,
Yeah,
Patty.
I was fortunate to go to the Capitol last session in 2023 for really the first time, and Elizabeth Marham, one of our former chairs, took me up there, and it was just such a wonderful time. And we were there to support a whole bunch of stuff, and it was just it was really eye-opening, and Karen's right. It makes you feel so much more connected and so much
Yeah.
more powerful. I My hope is to do like a day of action where I try to get as many of us Gallatin Dems to go up as a group together. Um, the days on that are still to be determined. But if that's something you'd be interested in, or if there's a bill that you really would like to testify in, but you need some help getting up to Helena, you can reach out to us and we can see if anyone else is going up that day. And we'll just try to do our best to support you guys to get up and make your voices heard. But with that, I think we'll move over to just looking at a website. Does that sound good to everyone? Let's see. Share
Yeah.
screen.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, so this is the home screen of the legmt.gov. I can put that in the chat real quick for everyone as well. All right, so when you search legmt.gov, this is where it will bring you. There's kind of like a general big search bar here that you can use. You could type in a whole bunch of different things. But what Patty was talking about was, so if you come here, you can go to the Bill Explorer. And this is going to show you, like, if you click on this right now, it's going to take a second to load, and it might take a few seconds to load. So this is a really great way. You can search by the bill number, the LC number, the short search by like the status. But as you can see right now, there are 43 pages and bills on it. And so these are all bills with stuff in them. And so, hey, look, this is the one Patty was just talking about, allowing online voter registration. It is
Hey,
Senate
Damien,
Bill
I
8
want to
by,
interrupt real quick. Maybe you should turn off your video because you're kind of coming in and out. But if you turn off your video, we might hear your audio
oh,
better.
let's see. And it also looks like
No.
it didn't actually show you what I was trying to show you. So video. Can you guys see that?
Now I see it.
Can
Yeah.
anyone
Yeah,
hear
I
me
see
now?
it.
Okay, cool. You can see it now. You can hear me fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Better.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, Karen. All right. So, like I was saying, you go from the home page, you can click this Bill Explorer. This is the bill that Patty was just telling us about, the allowing online voter registration. It is currently Senate Bill 8. You can click on that. This will give you, who introduced it, it'll have fiscal notes, and you can look at the bill's text. And you can read through all of this, and you could print it. This one's, right now pretty short. It's 4 pages, which isn't too hard to read. You can also look here at the status. And so this will be like all of the different steps that it has to go through. So it'll have a first reading, um, and then as it makes its way down, it'll get dates updated. You can see that these are all the previous things that happened. So they were working it in the in between sessions. So it started back in 09/11 of 2024, and the most recent hearing on it was supposed to be today, and it looks like that was canceled. So that looks like the next one is going to be on the 13th. In room 335 if you happen to be there. Um, but it looks like it doesn't. I was hoping it had an option to just add it to my tracked bills right now, but we will instead. Oh, dang it. Keeps opening a new tab on me and not showing the page that I actually wanted to show. Sorry about that. Let's
And you,
see. So this is what I was just
it stopped
looking at.
sharing. Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
there we
Okay.
go. Is that better?
Yeah.
So this is that page I was just talking about, where you can go in here and you can see the bill's text,
Oh, cool,
you
cool.
can see the status that it's in, you can see all that sort of stuff. Um, but if we go back to the home screen, you can scroll down. This will be their general calendar. So they'll have updates throughout the week. And usually they try to set it, what's coming up in the week, but these can change. So if there's something you really want to speak to, you just unfortunately you do have to pay a bit of attention. Eventually it kind of gets more locked in stone. But down here you can see participation. So if you click on participation, it is going to load. And here it's going to give us some information. And it says, right now you can testify remotely using Zoom, and you can sign up 2 hours prior to a meeting schedule's start time to testify, which is awesome. That's more. I think it gives us a lot more flexibility. Um, You can also submit written testimony and comments to a bill, to a committee, or directly to your legislature, for example. Um, and then importantly here it says, hey, if you're participating remotely, you have to obey the rules of decorum, and the presiding officer of that committee will let you know what they are. And you just have to follow those directions. In my experience, they haven't been anything wild. Um, but if we click this button here that says, I want to public participate, we will get to this this page. Ooh, let's see. It has me signed in. So here you can see I've already created an account. And so it's like, hey, Damien, um, what do you want to do? And so I could just send a message. I could testify remotely. I could submit this one. I'm not really gonna. I don't think I've ever used this in the past. I've never needed to submit like exhibits for testimony. That would be written things. So if you aren't able to testify remotely, but you would really like to have your thoughts be heard, you could just submit written stuff instead of online testimony. Here you can, this is for interim committees, which I don't think we're no longer interim, so I don't think they are useful, but I wonder if, oh, yep. So it says there are currently no committee meetings scheduled that are allowing public testimony. So makes sense. They're not working right now. But so if I were to want to testify remotely, I could come here and I could say, hey, I want to testify specifically on a bill. And I remember that our bill last time that we were talking about for online voter registration was SB 8. And so that's allowing online voter registration. And it says, hey, the time for that hearing is January 13th at 3 p.m. And I would say, yes, that is the one I want to do. And then I would select, am I a proponent or an opponent? Or am I an informational witness? This one I don't think is going to apply to most of us. That's kind of a very specific um, category. We're typically going to be either a proponent or an opponent. In this case, I actually haven't read this bill, but for me, I'm a big fan of being able to register online. So for the moment, we'll say I am a proponent. And then the next question will be, hey, are you representing yourself? So this is important if I was representing like at my work, if there was a bill that touched on, wastewater items, and I wanted to represent my employer as a proponent of this bill, I would say no, I don't represent myself. I represent someone else, and it says, here's who I would be representing. But for most of the time, we're going to be representing ourselves. Um, then it says, hey, would you like to submit your testimony or any other information electronically? I recommend saying yes to this and then copying whatever you're planning on writing and putting it into that testimony. So that way, if um, your internet dies right before the thing starts, or you lose power, or you get called away, to go take care of your child, or your dog throws up in the living room. Whatever happens, your comment still gets added to the public record, and the legislatures will still see it. So then we'd hit continue, and so then I would give it a subject. So, if we were to do this, I would give it a title. I'd give it a comment. Since I'm not actually going to do this, I'm actually going to go back one screen and say, if it lets me, thinking. I'm actually going to say no. And then look, I have submitted the form and it says you successfully signed up to testify remotely. You will receive an email with instructions on how to participate. Please do not share this email as it is tailored specifically for you and only you will be allowed to testify. So basically what that's saying is, don't share this out with, give that link to your brother or your sister because, they're going to call for Damian Lynn. They're not going to call for my wife or someone else. Um, if someone else in your family or a friend wants to testify, um, certainly encourage them to do so, and they can do it through the same process. Does anyone have any questions on this piece? I'm going to switch back so I can see all of you. Well, cool. So we are almost out of time, and I wanted to let me see if I can. Wanted to show you guys what it looked like if you've never um created an account. And so let me see. Cool. So I'm going to share this tab instead. So if you're brand new to this, you've never created an account, or if you've done it in the past, but you've still never made an account for this with this new system, you could still go to that participation section. And then you could say public participation again, which will open up this tab instead that says, hey, we've got this new streamlined sign-in process. This is how you do it. And I would say, hey, I need to create an account. So for me, when I go to do this, I would use my email and my password. Or if you don't have an account, you can say sign up now. So this part, I won't lie, took me an embarrassing long time to figure out. So you have to enter in your email. So if I were to create one for the Gallatin Dems, I would go info@gallatindems.com. And so then I was like, cool, I want to enter my name. And I was like, why won't it let me enter my name? What is going on here? Why is it broken? Well, you have to send a verification code. So you have to enter your email, send verification code. That is going to send a email to whatever email address you put in there. It's going to have a 5-digit code. So when you click this, it'll send that email, and then you're going to have to type in that code, or you can copy and paste it. So since I'm not actually going to create one right now, I'm not going to go and get that verification code. But once you enter that number in, you'll hit verify code, and then it'll let you put in your first name, your last name, your phone number, your address, what state you live in, your zip code, city, and then you can create a password. And then it'll let you create the account. So yeah, that just took me a minute or two of trying to figure out what was going on before I realized, oh, I have to send this verification code, which is kind of not the usual order that it gets done in most digital applications in my experience. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. But in general, that's the Montana State Legislative website. There's going to be a whole lot of going on, and it looks like Deb has a question, so I will turn it over to her real quick. Oh wait, nope, that was just my hand on Deb's face. Sorry, Deb. Does anyone else have any questions?
Cool. Do you feel more ready? That was really helpful, Damien. I would have totally gone around in a circle with that code.
Rio,
Rio.
please.
Yes, hi, sorry. I do have a question. So I somehow, can you hear me? All right.
Yep.
I somehow was I searched for a particular keyword on the bills, and then I got the Montana Legislative Services came up, and there's a bill tracker login, which I thought was what I should be signing up for, but that's different and kind of clunky and awful. Are you aware of
Oh.
this?
Do you have to create another one to use the bill tracker?
Yeah, it's completely separate.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that would explain why I couldn't figure out how to do it on my account that I just created. Um,
Yeah, it looks like
Rio, would
the
you
bill tracker's through a third-party company called billtracker.com.
Yeah, and you have to segregate
really?
states when you do searches, like Oregon versus Montana.
Oh, would you, hey Rio, would you copy that link and throw it in the chat for us?
Sure. Yeah.
That would be so wonderful. So, looks like I have the most important information of how to create your bill tracker. So yes, you will also have to create an account to use that bill tracker. Here, I'll go to that real quick and show you all what it looks like.
So I was
Go
kind of
ahead.
futzing around while you were explaining most of this, as it might be evidence from my confusion here. But so so the bill tracker is to literally keep track of bills, and the other account is to comment.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That sounds right.
So this is what the bill tracker looks like. Again, I actually haven't done this yet, so I'll just boop. I have definitely read and agreed to the terms of use. You all saw that, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then of course it's gonna send in a link to my email. Oops. Let's see, bill tracker. It looks like it actually sent me two emails. One is a how-to, and the other one is a confirm email. hit the confirm email. Okay, so now it's taken me to this new web page where I have to create a password. Well,
Yep.
it doesn't hide my password, so I'm not going to show you that. But yes, that is, you will have to create 2 accounts, unfortunately. If you're, I don't know, I think they're both important. If you really just want to give comments on, 1 or 2 specific bills and you know what those are, and other organizations are tracking them, you can certainly rely on them and not create a bill tracker account. Um, but if you are like myself, or what we as the Gallatin County Democrats will be doing, we will probably have a long list of tracked bills um, for all sorts of different purposes. So I think with that, I'm going to end our training unless there are any other questions. Um, and as you guys go through this, if you run into problems or issues, like I said, please reach out to us on our Slack. You can email the info at Gallatin Democrats.com. If you see me on the street, you can holler at me and I will do my best to help figure out what the issue is. But yeah, it's a learning process, I think, as we go. And hopefully nothing major will change throughout the session. But come 2027, I might have to do a new training video because they might change everything. So and yes, I am. So we have recorded this. What our plan is I'm gonna upload it to. We have a Gallatin Dems YouTube channel. Follow us on all the social medias, and then we'll include that link to that YouTube video to all of our action alerts. It should also be included once we get the video all done. It will go out. A link to it will go out into our newsletter as well, and I'll probably share it in the Gallatin Dems discussion group. And then I'm wanting to include it in every single action alert going forward, just since it's a simple link in a text. And so anyone who forgets, like I am prone to do, will be able to click on that and remind themselves of what's going on. But perfect. Thank you all for attending. I know that there were a whole bunch of things going on tonight. I was unaware until about a few days before that um, there was a cat grizz game, or not a cat grizz game, a cat game tonight. So sorry. But yes, so for as far as developing, Patty, are you saying like what do you mean by online evenings? Do you mean like last year we did those legislative check-ins? Like I think they were every Thursday. Yes. So I have reached out to the legislatures. I hope to continue doing that. And so for anyone who doesn't remember or wasn't around, basically once a week we had like a 30-minute Zoom call to check in with the legislatures, and we did one at a time. So, 1 week we had Kelly Cordum, another week we had Pat Flowers, and we just kind of cycled through them. So I'd really like to do that again. Um, and I think that having one legislature a week is pretty reasonable for them to meet their all of their duties. So once I have more solid info on that, I will make sure to share it out again through our Gallatin Dems discussion group, as well as our newsletter and on our Slack channel. But yes, with that, we're now 5 minutes over the hour, so I apologize for keeping everyone a little long. Please leave, go enjoy your evening, go eat dinner, and hopefully I will see you on a Zoom call to yell at about legislative things, or hopefully we can all drive up someday and we'll have a party in the state capitol.
I love that.
Thank
Yes.
you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Onward. Yep.
Thank you, Karen. This is
Thank-
really good. This is
Oh, good.
great.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank
Talk soon.
you.